Boom. Call this meeting to order. Mr. Ahern, lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow. All right, so we will first of all approve minutes of our May 23rd meeting. I think that's all I see here is the May 23rd minutes of the regular board meeting. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
By Mike.
Second.
Second by Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See how quick? The announcements are that we'll meet on the following dates, Monday, June 27th, and then on July 11th, and July 25th. All the meetings are at 6 o'clock, preceded by a work session at 5. All of these meetings are held here unless otherwise posted. As usual, weather observations for the month of May are available in the town hall. Citizens wishing to be listed on the agenda should notify the town hall before noon, the Friday before the meeting. And the town offices will be closed on July 4th in observance of Independence Day. I have no comments. The next thing on the agenda here is a letter of resignation from Stephen Finn, who is resigning from the Plymouth Fire Department, and says the following: I have enjoyed my time at Plymouth Fire Department immensely over my 8 years as a firefighter. However, the time has come for me to move on and pursue my family goals. It is with a heavy heart, therefore, that I must resign from my position as firefighter effective June 24th of this year. This letter serves as my 2-week notice. I would like to make this a smooth transition and will help in the hiring process in whatever way I can. It has been a genuine pleasure working for Plymouth Fire. I will miss my associates here. I wish you and the department continued success in the future. Thank you for this opportunity. Stephen Finn. I guess that's all we need to do with that, right? Is there?
Accept it with regret.
Accept it with regret. Yeah. Anybody have any comments about that, or? Sorry to see Stephen go. And then we have, on the coming in side, Seth Cooper. We have previously voted to approve the hiring of Seth Cooper as a police officer at the PSU Police Department, so this is more of an introduction to the town than anything, I would say.
It is correct. Good evening. Aaron Como from the University Police. Here to introduce Seth Cooper. Seth recently retired from the state police after a 20-plus year career. Previous to that, he spent some time working in the towns of Holderness and Lincoln. Was a patrol supervisor in Troop F. Supervised basically the whole northern half of the state. 9 troopers under his command when he left the state police, in good standing. He's married, has a couple of children. His son recently has enlisted in the Air Force Reserves. His daughter is a junior at Plymouth High School, and they've lived together in the greater Plymouth area for over 20 years.
That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah. Well, welcome. Glad
you.
to see you're here. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Yep, nice to see you here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, yeah.
This is his appointment.
All right. Oh, we need to sign
and
that,
then
though.
we'll stop by tomorrow.
Actually, yeah, it needs to be notarized, doesn't it? Do we?
Yeah, that's why they're coming tomorrow.
They're
Okay.
coming tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll leave for your signatures, and then we'll come back tomorrow.
Great. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
And then Mark McGlone has written to us and asked to be reappointed to the Park and Rec Board, and says the following. I am writing to apply for reappointment to the Parks and Recreation Board. I have served as a commissioner for the past 9 years and have enjoyed my time on the board tremendously. I have been an active member, serving on the Budget Committee and helping to organize the family fun festivals, as well as our sponsored summer concerts on the Common. In closing, I hope to get a chance to continue serving the Plymouth community, and thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Mark Maglone. We all know Mark, right? Should we reappoint him to the Parks and Rec Commission? We have a motion to appoint Mark to the Parks and Rec Commission.
Make a motion that we reappoint Mark to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
By Mike, second by Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's done. And Butch Cushing, we already appointed Butch Cushing to the zoning board on May 31st, it looks like, and we've all signed the reappointment. And so the purpose of this is just to announce that Butch Cushing has been reappointed to the ZBA for another 3 years, beginning the 1st of June, basically. Okay? And then our next category is visitors. And our first visitor on my list is Karen McLeod from Plymouth Elementary School gardening class. And she has brought some friends with her, I see.
I sure have. My name is Karen McLeod, and I teach at Plymouth Elementary School. I've been there about 25 years. Just to give you a little bit of background, we have been doing, my father-in-law, Charlie McLeod, and his wife Lois had been doing a garden-based learning project with the students of Plymouth Elementary School for 20-plus years. And a few years ago, we kind of had to stop the garden because it had just run its course, and Charlie, of course, has aged some, and we just could no longer do the project. So Charlie's garden was put to rest for a little bit. And I tell you, I have a great story to share that last week I did at the board meeting, our school board meeting last week. I shared during privilege of the floor about what happened to me a few weeks ago, which blew me away. And John, Selectman Ranlett, was at the meeting, and he heard the story, and afterwards he said to me, he said, "Gee, would you mind coming to the selectmen's meeting and sharing that story?" And I thought, wow, why should I do that? And then as I thought about it, it's community, and here we pay the taxes that we pay in this town. We know we pay a lot for our taxes, but we invest in our school system, and it's just amazing because I can see how our tax dollars are at work. Of course, I teach there, so I see that, but it's important for the community to see what kind of children we're turning out, because a few weeks ago I had, let me introduce my special guests. These are 7 of the finest 7th graders you'll ever meet. I'm going to introduce Suma Billen first, because this is the one who had the idea. Please stand up, Suma, a 7th grader. And beside Suma, we have Maya Furbish. Please stand. And Hunter McLeod, another 7th grader. Diane Lee, right here in the front. And Julia Ahern, of course, who's no stranger to one of us. But these children have just been doing a fabulous project. And Suma is the gal who came to me a few weeks ago and to my classroom. I teach first grade, and I had a class full of children, and she said, "Mrs. McLeod, can I speak to you?" And I said, "Sure." And then she said, "Privately." And I thought, oh, so I got coverage for my class, and I went out into the hallway to speak privately with Suma. And Suma shared her concern about when she travels down Fairgrounds Road, she sees Charlie's garden bare, and it just saddened her some. So I assured Suma that my father-in-law was okay. He's 83 years old now and can't garden the way he used to. But he has gardens very close to the back of his house, so he can still enjoy that concept. And she said, "Well, I was talking to my dad and my mom, and I wanted to do something." And they basically, I should introduce Mr. Billen and Mrs. Billen, because I think you're fabulous as well for having this dialogue with your daughter and thinking, well, what do you want to do about it, Suma? So Suma said, well, I'd like to maybe grow his garden for him and give back to him, because for over 20 years, that's why I dressed for the occasion, I'm wearing a Charlie's Garden shirt, because 20 years ago, when we started this project, the students of the elementary school drew the pictures for this shirt. They told me the story of the first trip that we went on, and Dr. Lindbergh from the college took their words and then turned it into a song within 3 days. So we're published, we're in a textbook that she uses for teaching, but the experience is long-lasting. And I'd like to introduce Suma. If you'd like to come on up and say a few words about how you went over to Charlie's. Come on over here, Suma. And of course, several of these children I had when they were in first grade, and I'm just very proud of them. So Suma, tell them how you went over to see Charlie.
Okay, so the day that I went to Mrs. McLeod and told her about what I wanted to do, she said I could just drop by and see him and talk to him about it. So I went to his house, and at first they seemed a little frightened. I don't know. They looked kind of startled. So after I introduced myself and told them that I once went to Charlie's Garden and that I was taught by Mrs. McLeod, they seemed a little more relaxed with me. So I told them about my idea, and at first he seemed a little skeptical about whether I was really going to go through with it or not. But after I came with my friends for the first time, he knew that I was serious about doing it. So
I'll just chime in.
Yeah.
It was impressive because Charlie thought about it, and I said, Charlie, this is not, you don't have to do any work for this. Suma said that her dad would till the garden. They would take care of it, because that was my first question. I said to Suma, it's a great idea, but during the summer, who's going to care for this big garden? And she said, I will. My friends will. I have a few friends who have jumped on board and would love to weed. Wouldn't you love to weed? But they all want to this summer, so their goal is to just keep up the garden so that they can then harvest the produce and give it to Charlie and Lois. And then Charlie took it a step further. I think it kind of gave him some motivation to maybe get out there a little bit. And he said, your father doesn't have to till the garden. He got on his Kubota tractor and he tilled it. Then I think he went across the street where the children used to plant pumpkins, and he tilled a lot more, and the next time the children came over to do some planting, Charlie had them pulling up the plastic from years ago when the kids had worked over on that side of the road. But I know Charlie and Lois, both of them are just tickled pink and very proud of these children, as I am. And I just think it's important for the community to hear what these children are doing. It's amazing, and you all should be applauded for this. And even the little siblings, I shouldn't forget, Nana and Nico have also been over there helping out.
Good.
You know, and I'm sure we're gonna have more, we'll have more people from the community as word gets out to bring back Charlie's Garden in a different light. And I just think they should be applauded for their efforts. Any questions or comments?
That's wonderful.
Well-
I think that's good. Maybe Charlie's Garden will go on in perpetuity.
Absolutely, I think so.
You bring the little guys up, in a few years, you'll be running the show there, I bet, right?
I think so. So,
That's great.
thanks so much for taking the time to
Well,
want.
I just wanted the community to see. Lots of times we don't see this, and you know what these young people do, and they're the future of the town. And I just applaud each one of you for taking the initiative and caring and giving back to the community. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
When do you run for selectman?
These are the people who are going to make a difference
Yes.
in the world.
That's
No
right.
doubt. They're
Could
making
be.
a difference in the community already.
Yes.
So, thanks very much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank all of you.
Don't even remember the song?
You do remember the song? Sure.
We
You
could
wanna-
sing the song.
Come on up and sing it.
It's a great song.
All right, I'll sing it if anybody wants to join me. No? Diane, you want to just go with me for the chorus? Every day counts. It tells the story.
No, I remember the caterpillar song.
I'll just sing the chorus. And I don't have much of a voice, but every day counts in Charlie's Garden, where the golden sun shines all around, growing strong in Charlie's Garden, growing down, deep down in the ground. And then it goes on to tell the story about Lois making muffins, roasting corn, and it's very cool.
More applause. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mrs. McLeod.
The worm song. Charlie like that too. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, the next, this is, try to beat that, Charlie.
No, I'll go later.
You're the next item on the agenda, and it says Charlie Chandler running for NH Senate District 2 seat.
Well, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much for asking me to, or giving me the time to be here tonight and introduce myself to you. But I'll tell you, the first thing I have to say is the town of Plymouth is in good hands. I am so encouraged. I'm glad I got here a little bit early to see this. This is fantastic. I am a candidate for the Hampshire Senate District 2, and the reason I'm here tonight is to introduce myself to the board members and let them know who I am and make myself available to them. Because the relationship of a select board to who is an elected office, particularly in the New Hampshire Senate, is incredibly important. I'm a selectman now in the town of Warren. I've been a selectman for a number of years, and I understand the significance of that relationship. I have some handouts that I have prepared for the members of the board.
Come here if you'd like.
And if you would just circulate those. but what I want to do is just take a few minutes and introduce myself to you. My name is Charlie Chandler. I'm a New Hampshire native. I was born and raised in the city of Laconia. I graduated from Laconia Public School System. I graduated from the University of New Hampshire and Suffolk Law School. I'm a retired attorney. I was in private practice for about 30 years in the town of Tilton. As I said, I currently serve on the select board of the town of Warren. I'm formally a member of the New Hampshire House of Representatives. I sat for 6 years on the New Hampshire Ballot Law Commission. I'm Governor Hassan's current appointee to the Cannon Mountain Advisory Commission. I was appointed by the New Hampshire Secretary of State and conducted a 2-year investigation into what's collectively known as the FRM Ponzi scheme. I was appointed by the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office as a New Hampshire election monitor to look into issues in the town of New Boston and some election procedures that they had there. I currently am chairman of the board of Franklin Savings Bank. I have been on the board of 2 private schools, the White Mountain School in Bethlehem and Spalding Youth Center, which is a school for seriously disadvantaged children in Northfield, New Hampshire. So I've been involved, and I'm currently school district moderator in Warren. I've been a town moderator, a fire district moderator. So my involvement in state and local politics has been for over 45 years. And I bring this collective experience to my candidacy for New Hampshire Senate District 2. Probably the most motivating factor for any public service that I have had in New Hampshire at state or local level is public education. I am strongly committed to public education at the local level, but I'm also strongly committed to the New Hampshire university system and technical school system. The fabric of our community is dependent upon well-educated individuals, and I have always taken the position that if we cannot adequately fund education, we have a moral deficit in our society. So it's significant to me. I've been a strong supporter for years of alternative energy products. I support the biomass industry. I support solar power industry. I am a supporter of wind turbine power. I am not a supporter of Northern Pass as it currently is configured. I could support it if, in fact, it's buried. But I will tell you, I have experience with the burial of utilities. My office in Tilton, my law office, I was a one-man shop there for about 30 years. And my law office was right in the middle of Main Street. I loved it. It was great fun. It was sort of the Atticus Finch kind of thing. It was really, really good. But during that time, a utility went through the town of Tilton, and there was burial. And I watched 2 small businesses go out of business because of inadequate planning and improper conception of the product. So while I can say that it's appropriate to bury Northern Pass, we need to be very careful how we do it. You might notice on my resume that I was the executive director of a state agency. In the 1970s, I was the executive director of an agency called the New Hampshire Transportation Authority. And that was a very different time than today. And what we did, among other things, was we owned and operated railroads on behalf of the state of New Hampshire. We purchased the Concord to Lincoln line. We purchased North Stratford to Beecher Falls for the purpose of economic development. At the time, the legislature felt it made a lot of sense. And the reason I bring this up is I think that the possible siting of underground placement of Northern Pass needs to consider not only highways, and I don't mean the main street of Plymouth either, but it needs to consider the railroad rights-of-way. And there are substantial rights-of-way, many of which are owned by the state of New Hampshire pursuant to the eminent domain and condemnation proceedings of the 70s that I don't think have been adequately investigated or analyzed. But the Site Evaluation Committee is currently where Northern Pass is, and I can respect the process that's gone on there. We have some critical problems in this state right now. We have some wonderful opportunities, too. The most critical immediate problem is everybody identifies is the opioid problem, which is a multifaceted problem that's going to take a lot of cooperation. And one of the interesting things is I'm seeing the cooperation. I'm a Democrat. But you're going to see the Republicans are saying we might have different ideas about the solutions, but we all recognize the problem, and I think we're all working toward it. I don't really want to take a lot of time and make a speech, but I guess I just did.
You didn't take a lot of time, but you made a speech.
Yeah, I did.
It's okay.
But I just really wanted to introduce myself to the board and say, this is who I am, this is my background, this is why I'm running for the New Hampshire State Senate, and this is what I will bring to the Senate should I be fortunate enough to be elected. With that, if anybody's got any questions, I'm more than willing to answer, open up, or whatever.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much for the courtesy. It's nice to meet you. And let me just say that the relationship between a select board and its elected officials are critical. At some point in time, because I am on the other side of that table now, and I have been in the past, I know you're going to need somebody to intercede on your behalf with state agencies in Concord. And I think it's important to understand that there's one thing to have the philosophies on big issues that you're going to take to Concord. There's another thing, the ability to work your way through the maze of the bureaucracy in Concord. And believe me, I'm very comfortable with that. So thanks again. And you're in good hands. You really are. You know, I look at this. I see a couple senators sitting there, too.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it. And the next visitor on our list, Michelle Tracy, concerning a vendor permit.
Hi, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Michelle Tracy. Thank you very much for giving me your time. I just wanted to come and speak. There's been what feels to me some confusion over trying to get my permit with the town of Plymouth for my food truck. And I'm hoping that that can be cleared up and clarified tonight. I opened up a food truck and tried to obtain the $1,500 space. In November, I went into the town of Plymouth to introduce myself and get the correct information to obtain the permits. Mr. Murphy at that time explained to me that there's a $50 fee to the town of Plymouth, or you can pay $1,500 for a spot. I was told at that time that that spot was off limits because it was already to go to the gentleman at the ski works. At that time, I had asked for the application for that spot, that I'd like to just see the process. There seemed to be a little bit of hesitation. I was asked why. I said, you never know what happens. I'd like to just see what you can do to get that spot should it ever be available. When I got home, I did see that in there was a clause. On January 5th, I called the town offices to find out if that spot had been yet secured. At that time, I was told no. Mr. Murphy then got on the phone and he told me that he had already told me that I can't get that spot. At that time, I had addressed that in that application. It said as of December 31st, should the person who holds that spot not secured it, that spot then becomes available. There seemed to be a bit of what felt to me hesitation that I wouldn't be allowed to have that spot even though the application at that point and spot was up for grabs. At that time, I decided it really wasn't worth coming down that day to get the spot. I didn't want to start my business off in Plymouth on a bad note or fighting over parking spots and such. So I left it alone. I carried on and secured all my permits that I already had with Concord, all the big permits that I needed. In that process, given opening a food truck, the process has been extremely daunting, overwhelming, and many different town rules and such everywhere that it's been a bit overwhelming. I thought that I had secured the necessary permit to operate anywhere excluding 15 towns that were not, Plymouth was not one of them. That was my understanding with Concord when I spent lengthy time talking with Chancellor Kenny over in Concord. With that said, I arrived here in Plymouth. I operated for a total of 7.5 hours in the town of Plymouth. I was approached on April 29th by Mr. Murphy in downtown Plymouth. That day I felt it was a bit not pleasant. I felt a little bit embarrassed. I tried to correct the situation immediately. I shut down and went over to the town. It wasn't a great day. I wasn't that pleasant, so to speak. There seemed to be some arguments outside. Mr. Murphy kept asking me what he should have done if the gentleman at the ski works came in on December 2nd. I didn't really understand why we were even arguing at that point about this spot, and I had to explain to him that's not my job. I just wanted to correct the situation and move forward at that point. The $50 at that point it was irrelevant to me. I would have paid it. I wanted to pay the $1,500. I didn't think I needed to because I misunderstood my information with Concord. So when I came here, I wasn't trying to get away with anything. I thought I was in the right. I immediately went over to the town offices, collected the application. I ran around and gave them the insurance, my state permits, everything that was required. The only piece that was missing that day, I went down to the local police station to get my background check. I was then told by the chief that they don't do that there. I went through almost 2 weeks of back and forth and not getting correct information. The town offices kept telling me I had to go to the local police station. The local police kept saying, no, you have to go to Concord. Finally, I got Mr. Murphy on the phone, and he finally accepted that I could go to Concord and just get a personal background check and pay for it, and he would accept that. In between this time, it was brought to my attention by Mr. Murphy himself and other businesses within the town who had a problem with me being in Plymouth for those 7.5 hours, and I'm not even sure why my application was discussed or why anybody even knew that I didn't have a permit.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Are you saying that you opened up without a permit and that became an issue? Is that what's going on here?
I opened up without Plymouth. I came here without Plymouth's $50 peddler's license. I had my state license with the state of New Hampshire and my state hawkers and peddlers license. I did not obtain the $50 permit for the town of Plymouth. I was not aware at that point. Mr. Murphy had made it aware in November, but when I went to Concord and moved on and didn't do the $1,500 space that was available, in that process of talking to Concord, there seems to be many gray areas that become very confusing. So when I came here that day, I thought I was in the right because I was told I could go anywhere except for these 15 cities, and Plymouth was not on that. There's been a lot of gray areas and confusion. I didn't want to get in a fight between Plymouth and Concord, and I just wanted to pay the $50 and correct the situation. Plymouth is my hometown. I love it. That was the basis of starting this business, was to offer late night snacks to the college students. You know, my stepfather, Craig Zamzow, started the business enterprise, the college who has had a massive part of this project with me. I mean, it's just been devastating to not be able to be a part of this town. Moving forward, I collected the background check. I had all the components to the application that they needed. I hold 17 permits with every other town, and I didn't have a problem. Plymouth seemed to be the only place
You just said you had 17 permits with other towns, but you didn't have the Plymouth permit.
Right, because Mr. Murphy, it all got brought to my attention after this thing that I was like, whoa, when I went back to Concord, I'm like, am I doing this right? And there is many gray areas. So at that point, because there's so many gray areas, I've been just going to every town and picking up permits so I don't run into this issue. Do you see what at first I didn't think I was in the wrong at all. Do you see what I'm saying? I hold my New Hampshire state license.
I thought I heard you say that he told you back in November that you needed a permit.
Correct, but what I'm trying to explain is when I couldn't get that space, what I thought then
The
with
permit that you
Concord-
were gonna try to get in November wasn't for that space. It was the $50
Right.
permit, right?
No, I wasn't trying
So
to
whoa,
get
whoa,
that
whoa,
at
just
the
hold
time.
up a sec. So he told you in November you needed a permit and it cost you $50.
Correct, he told me there was that in the $1,500 space. I wanted to get the $1,500 space that was available, but it was basically, for better lack of words, felt to me I was bullied out of getting it because it was already.
All right, so for whatever reason, that space was not available, whether it was fair or not, it wasn't
Right,
available.
so
then you had to-
moving
So
forward-
you had to get the $50 permit, right?
At that point, I didn't realize that anymore because at that point with Concord, and from what I understood, I didn't need it here because Concord said you can go to any place for up to 2 hours and move on except for these 15 cities.
So for
Now-
2 hours and move on?
Correct.
But you weren't here for 2 hours.
The day that I was out here for 3.5 hours total.
You
And I
said
didn't.
7.5.
Right, but I'm talking about between the first day and the day that Mr. Murphy came out.
So there were 2 days.
There was 2 days with a total of 7.5 hours in total that I operated in the town of Plymouth.
And you thought you could open for 2 hours and leave.
Correct.
But
No,
you
2
stayed-
hours and you move on to a new spot. You can't stay in one spot for more than 2 hours.
Oh, so you can stay in the town, you just
Like
go from-
anywhere in New
you just
Hampshire,
move
not just
around?
Plymouth. Correct. Like you can do 2 hours, move on, 2 hours,
Do you,
move
do you
on.
have any of the paperwork that says that you don't need a permit to operate in Plymouth from
No, I
Concord?
don't have that. That's what I'm saying. I was confused. There was confusion amongst
Well,
that.
you said that you had some paperwork from Concord that indicated that you did not need a permit in any town except 15.
No, that's not what I said. I said I misunderstood. When I got my licensing in Hawkers with the state of Concord, I misunderstood it. I thought it meant that I did not need permits at any of these places except for the 15 cities that they had listed.
So where's that list?
It's online. I didn't know I needed to bring that. I'm not.
Well, I'm just wondering, you were saying the Concord's telling you don't need a permit except in 15 cities.
No, I'm
That's
telling,
not
I
true.
got that confused. But that, a part of that is true. What I misunderstood out of that is those 15 cities, I got that backwards. Those 15 cities, I can't go in unless I go obtain like another $800 license with them. So there's certain inspecting cities. I took it the opposite way. Do you see what I'm saying? So the town, Concord wasn't wrong with that. It was me who had misunderstood the information. I didn't think I needed to get a $50 permit
All right,
here.
what's the status of it right now?
I have all my permits. The status now is I'm just looking to obtain my permit here.
Okay.
You know, I feel like I've tried to do everything to correct the situation. I'm just looking to move forward.
All right, so is that it? Can we ask Brian what he has to say about it?
I mean, that's it too. I mean, if you need a character witness, I have someone here as well, but I'm just,
No, I don't
know,
think it's
looking
that.
to-
So can we hear from Brian for a second?
sure. And then the only other thing left I did want to say is, in light of all of this, I also was accused of being told I was here numerous times when I wasn't, and I do have letters stating that my vehicle was at Canton Chevrolet during the time frame I'm told that my vehicle was here operated. And then I was also told I was not allowed to go to Holderness Prep School, and I was told that that should not have even been told to me because it's out of Plymouth's jurisdiction. So I'm not even sure why I was getting this, to me, what feels like harassment.
Okay. Brian, could we hear from you for a minute?
Certainly.
You might as well let him stand there.
Do I go back down here?
Would you like to know, Mr. Chairman?
Well, so what is from your perspective, what is going on here?
The first time I was aware of any inquiry was late December.
when I spoke to Ms. Tracy on the phone. She asked me about the status of the vendor permit or the vendor spot outside of Town Hall. I said the permit expires December 31st. At that point, there had been no application for it. And I said, come that day, it's up for grabs. I hadn't heard anything from anybody after that until Daniel came in. And
But Daniel's the guy that has
Daniel Massera from Plymouth Skiing Sports, who has the...
When was that?
That was the first week of the new year.
All right, so the first. So what's the issue with this permit? It sounds like, when did you tell Ms. Tracy that she needed this $50
The
permit?
day that I said that the truck was operating in front of the Main Street business. So
that was the first time you had a discussion with her about the permit?
Other than the telephone conversation about the vendor spot.
All right.
And we may have discussed the need for a permit, I don't recall.
So when was it that she showed up doing business without the permit?
That was the Thursday or Friday before spring fling weekend.
All right, then.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, it was spring fling weekend, that's the only, it was April 28th was the day.
But it was during the week, so it wasn't the weekend.
It was Friday.
Which was during the week, but not the weekend, thank you.
Oh, no, you said the week before, that's all, I just wanted to clarify. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, I just wanted to clarify the weekend question. Sorry.
All right, so it's Friday, the Friday of spring fling weekend.
Whenever I identified myself,
Yeah.
asked to see the permit. She produced the hawkers and peddlers for the state permit. I said, no, I need the town of Plymouth.
Yeah.
She said, well, Concord told her she didn't need one. And I gave her a copy of the town ordinance concerning vendors and the hawkers. And said, this says you do. Here's a copy of the permit. I think I gave it to you at that time. You may have picked it up here. But I gave you the underlying ordinance at any rate. There was arguments involved.
Was Miss Tracy challenging the need for a permit?
Yeah, just in light of what she'd been told.
By Concord?
By Concord, I assume. I said, well, that's fine, but we do have our own, and this is the legal basis for it. And at that point, she became argumentative. I said, this really needs to be done. And I said, please make sure. But in the meantime, cease operation until you have the permit in hand.
All right, so that's Friday.
Yes, I came back here and Ms. Tracy came and she initiated the paperwork and I ran around for that. Monday I was informed by the town administrator and Plymouth PD that the lunch truck was operating albeit on private property during the weekend. Which is neither here nor there, but it's
Well,
there.
it is important because you told me I illegally operated and my car was in Canton Chevrolet, broken down, plugged in.
I have...
And I have proof of that.
I have two officers that said they saw it operating.
So you're saying I did not operate on Saturday and Sunday, and he's
I was
saying-
not here on Saturday and Sunday. I have proof of that. I have the owner of Canton Chevrolet in Laconia. My vehicle was towed and plugged in their shop, and I can produce the letter that I brought today for them if you'd like.
Were you
My
here Friday
vehicle
night?
was not there on Saturday and
Were
Sunday.
you here Friday night?
I was here Friday night. I had written permission from Steve, who owns, or down at Pemmy Glass, because I called Concord that day. There was so much confusion swarming around the rights and wrongs that I was then told I can be on private property with a written permission. I got a written permission from Steve at Pemmy Glass to operate. I was there for 3 hours. So that night, when I left town hall that day without the last piece, they knew that's what I was doing. I didn't even make it like a big secret. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be down there. I'd gotten the letter from Steve at Pemmy Glass, and I operated for 3 hours. I was not here on Saturday or Sunday. I have not been back here since.
Mr. Chair, excuse me. We're just talking about Friday night, and we're going by myself and PD. We knew there was no permit. And there's a lot that goes on during spring cleaning weekend, as you know.
Yeah.
We just started with Friday night. The vehicle was here Friday night. It was operating. There was no permit. We didn't count hours after that. We didn't, there was a lot of other things going on.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it was here Friday night.
No, we're just saying you have proof that the vehicle couldn't have been in Plymouth, but we're
I thought we
including
were
Friday
talking
night.
about Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, I think-
We're
He said the
nitpicking.
weekend.
You
I
didn't
was-
have a permit for Friday night either.
I understand that, but I did have the written permission because, and this is where there's gray areas in town ordinances. If you call and talk to Counselor Kenny in Concord, they say you can be on private property if you hold your state New Hampshire license with a written letter of recommendation. Mr. Murphy says you can't, and I don't know. That night when I left here, I had given them all the components to my application. I had a written letter from Steve that said I could be there, and I even told them that's what I was doing when I left the town office. I didn't try to challenge getting the Plymouth permit.
Have you-
I was in there, I did the application that day. I ran around everywhere getting everything they needed for the application. This is it was a mistake. I mean, it's like they said in Concord, it was a mistake. I feel very much, there was a personal issue that started with this to begin with over the $1,500 space. I don't know what else to say. I brought it.
I take exception to that, Mr. Chair.
So did,
Is there a reason then why you told me, Mr. Murphy, why I couldn't operate at Holderness Prep School? Is there a reason why you told me I was
I never said
operating
that.
illegally?
Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Should we be addressing through the
Excuse me, I'd like to interrupt you.
Chairman, who are you? Whoa.
I'm her mother, and I helped her start the food truck business.
Really?
And she called me, and she was very upset about that, and she didn't know about the permit. I'm just wondering why this is such a big deal. It's not like she came in and did something horrible. I mean, we have a 20-year history in this town. My husband and I had a business for 7 years. I'm a taxpayer, and he started the Small Business Institute. He brought 30 awards to Plymouth over 15 years as the MBA director in the small business. He worked on the Main Street downtown. He worked on Plymouth Chamber of Commerce, New Hampshire Electric. We have contributed a lot to the town. And I was very perplexed, and I'm really disappointed that she couldn't just get the permit. Sorry, I was mistaken. Here's the paperwork. It's been a battle, and she's been upset. And I don't understand what the big deal is about a $50 permit. Her truck is beautiful. It's new.
Can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
The $50 permit is not an issue for anybody else. She's had an awful time with this because she's fought with Brian, and she's made it extremely difficult for herself.
I'm sure.
I'm not
she
sure.
was frustrated, and I understand that. She didn't understand why, when she tried to rectify the situation and understood why after that, basically, she has not been able to get a permit. It seems simple to me. She's said I was wrong. She's paid the $50. She's filled out the application. So what is the problem with her having a permit?
I'm not sure there is one, but I've never seen anybody have so much difficulty get a $50 permit out of us. We do not have problems like this.
Okay, well.
And I'm afraid that your daughter made it extremely difficult for herself by constantly haranguing and making it difficult for everybody else. She became extremely agitated, very angry. She yelled and screamed at Brian,
Well, she
and
was
she
wrong to
wouldn't
do
get
that.
the permit. She claimed that she didn't need a permit. She insisted she didn't need a permit.
I went right down there. I never
So I'm
claimed I
just
didn't need
saying,
one.
Do
She
not
was-
blame us for
I'm
her
not
having
blaming
such a
you,
hard
I'm
time.
just saying that.
I immediately went to correct the situation. I never
No, you
said I
didn't.
did. I was there within 15 minutes of him coming outside. I was in this office in 15 minutes. What do you mean, no, I didn't? I was here in 15 minutes. I was running around the whole day.
You know, you can go on and on and on, I can tell.
But
You have
all
spoken
I tried
for
to do is
nearly
correct
20
this.
minutes straight about a very simple.
It's very simple. I haven't had this problem anywhere
So
but
here's
here.
the thing. What was Brian's ultimate resolution of this? What did he say you had to do?
I gave him everything he needed, and when I went in that day, he told me that he would bring it up with you guys to review because you guys weren't happy with me that I illegally operated my vehicle. And I said, Brian, did you explain to them that it was a matter of confusion? There's like a big difference between
By
illegally.
your own admission, you were out there at least on Friday night without a permit, knowing full well that you were supposed to have one.
At that point, and I spoke with Counselor Kenny and Concord.
Counselor Kenny has nothing to do with this. You need a permit under our
But that, we
ordinance.
understand that,
to-
but.
Don't interrupt me. To operate a business in Plymouth, and you didn't have one.
And I understand that.
Can she be issued a permit?
What's the story with this right now, Brian?
As far as I know, from what I have, we have most of the paperwork. The only thing lacking was the records check and the final from the food and beverage.
I came in and gave them, I was there that day, the last day I was there, I gave the lady a copy of my background check, and she made a copy of it. Where it went after that, I brought it. I brought it. I certainly have a copy here if you'd like it right now. I brought it.
Let's see it. Is this the check, record check from the state police?
This is the one that Brian told me that was good enough for him. I had
No, where did you get it from?
Please don't put words in my mouth, thank you.
When you guys,
Please don't.
Just, what do you have?
I have my background check from the state of New Hampshire, which passed for
Can I
all
see it?
my,
Is this, you got this from the state police?
no, I got this from the
From motor
state,
vehicle?
from the state of New Hampshire Safety Division.
All right, what else was missing, Brian?
I have a inspection report from the food protection section where it's approved for the license, but I need a copy of the food service license.
I did drop, I can get that.
I don't have it with my packages on.
Yeah, I've got that. I can certainly forward
Do you
that
have
to
the
you.
food service license with you?
It's on my food truck. It has to stay laminated. I might actually have a copy in here. I can take a peek.
And also the certificate of liability with Plymouth as a named party.
I don't know, what does that mean?
It's just basically the certificate of insurance like you have.
They already got that. The ladies emailed it to me, but you can have a copy. It's right here. The ladies, I believe it was Pam. She put that as with my application. That first day I was there, she got the insurance.
I have a copy for the town of Rumney, but
The town of Rumney, I'm sorry if I'm
these are
not
the paperwork that
understanding.
you delivered to me. The certificate holder is the town of Rumney.
Well, look, it sounds like there's three things you need: a certificate of insurance, a food service license.
The insurance they already have. It was emailed from Pam at his
Look,
office.
he's telling me these are the three things he wants to see. If it's there, fine. If it's not, you need to
All right,
produce
it's right
it.
here. Here's the certificate of insurance.
Thank you.
And then what was the last piece you need? My actual copy of my license? Both licenses with the state of New Hampshire?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I can pull it off the truck and make a photocopy of both. That's fine.
That would be both the hawkers and peddlers for
Yep.
the state or wherever, and the
And the state of New
food service
Hampshire.
license.
Yep. Does that work via email, or if it's scanned via email, or do you need me to drop it off in person?
If you were to drop it off in person and everything was together, we could write you the permit right on the spot.
Okay, wonderful.
Brian, is there anything in the ordinance about what the history, the criminal history record can or cannot have in it?
I can't tell you that off the top of my head, Mr. Chair.
You can take that back. I think you need to give him a copy.
I know the state of New Hampshire passed all my background checks and such. Pretty much.
Okay. If that's it, are we done?
I guess so. Does that mean that I just drop that off and I get the permit?
Yes, if you would like to come in tomorrow, we can write you the certificate that you would have.
All right, thank you very
Other
much.
things being checked.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is Ann still here?
No.
Or maybe, yeah, you guys have had enough, huh?
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. And Mom and Dad, too.
Mr. Sheriff?
Yes, Brian.
Since we're all gathered here, and you seem to have approved the permit, with it being vetted tomorrow, could you sign
Sure.
tonight, and that way we'll be going?
Was there a fee or anything? Is there a?
That will be checked tomorrow. We'll make sure that all the Ts are crossed.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
We always like a happy ending.
Jeez.
You need my pen?
I had one.
It's right underneath the paper. You looking for your pen?
Uh-huh.
I didn't take it.
So are, well, you're just waiting for this, but,
Joe?
Next.
well, I've got Ann for, this.
I can speak to
Oh, all right, so carryover from master plan update up to $8,629, and carryover for LGC Health and Safety Awards, $1,216.18.
The both of these carryovers were monies that were put aside in the past,
Okay.
but the master plan is ongoing, so that's why we need to carry the money over, because we haven't gotten like final billing for it yet.
Okay,
So we've had the money voted on, and we just need to carry it into the new year. And the LGC Health and Safety Awards carryover is money that Missy, as our Health and Safety Coordinator, gets every year. She gets like $500 a year for, you know, doing the health and safety program for the town. And that money is to be spent on like health and safety
Right.
things, you know, courses and different things that we, you know, we could do to promote our health. So that's something that we automatically carry over. That's money that's left over, so.
and before we all sign it, I suppose we should ask for a motion to approve these.
I make a motion that we approve
By Mike.
carryover expenses.
Second by Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that takes care of that. Thank you very much, Kathy. Joe? Joe's having a long night.
Mr. Chair, if I may, so we can
Yes.
expedite some of these.
Yep.
Joe's coming before you on a bid process on a couple of these items where this was the winner of the bid that he's bringing before you.
In the first instance, the DA White, all right. And that's for, I'll just summarize for the people who are listening, 17 culverts, replacement span of reservoir? What is that?
Right, Reservoir Road.
Oh, okay, so there are 17 culverts along Reservoir Road in various places. And then 500 feet of drainage in area near reservoir heights, problem areas. So you're gonna do some drainage work up there. and driveway crossing and catch basin plus grate is a small, relatively small item, 8,000, for a total of 78,775. And you've had this bid by D.A. White. He was the low bid,
lowest bidder.
lowest bidder. Okay.
So the only other part of that was, there was a paving piece in there, and they were all fairly high, so I just accepted the bid for the work, but the paving, I put out to paving contractors, and I'm
Okay.
waiting on the bids, so when that comes in, it'll be a separate purchase order.
Right, okay. And this will be, this is in your budget or something that you anticipated?
All three of these are budgeted items.
All right, so we have a motion, or could we have a motion to approve this $78,775 for road improvements on basically Reservoir Road?
So moved.
Second.
All right, by John and Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then, Joe, we've also got an HP Fairfields bid, I guess, for a six-wheeler plow and sander body.
Right, so the next one below it is Yankee Trucks, that's we put it out to bid for different trucks, and if you turn the page, it'll show you a list of the different vendors.
All right.
And so, we went with Yankee Truck. They were a little bit higher than the lowest bidder, but the lowest bidder we've had.
Sorry, Joe. I think that's a copy.
So we've had a lot of issues with the lowest bidder. We've had their product for a long time. And so, for the money difference, we went to a lot of surrounding towns and did our homework.
Mm-hmm.
And for the difference, we're going to try going with Yankee Trucks for a Kenworth truck.
And when you say, oh, I see, Yankee Trucks LLC, what's HP?
So the
that's
HP
it.
Fairfields is just a plow package, like body.
Oh, gotcha, okay, I'm sorry.
And the plow and the wing, because when you get the truck, it's just a cab and chassis. So we have to break it up like that.
So, well, the low bid was only $50 less, it looks like. Is that right?
For the Fairfields, yeah.
And is that what you're talking about?
No,
Not-
the truck itself was a little more, but.
Oh, I see, it was the dump body and stuff that you were...
Where's Yankee Trucks located?
Concord, right next to
Good
KFC.
service, huh?
Right, yeah. Yeah, they're a lot closer than International.
Mhm.
And,
Did that used to be Patsy's Kenworth?
yep. Yeah.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve Joe's $64,950 for a purchase order to HP Fairfields for a six-wheeler plow and sander body package?
So moved.
By Neil,
Second.
by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then finally, this is the truck that the plow's gonna go on, I gather.
Correct.
We're gonna buy, if we approve this, a truck from Yankee Trucks for $94,321.
Yep.
I just wanted to see what you said here.
Wow. Pretty
Yeah, this
broad
is-
spread in those bids.
What's that?
Broad spread in the
Yeah.
bids.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the truck bid for $94,321?
So moved.
Second.
By John and Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. I think that takes care of that. Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying, too, and being so patient. And then the only other thing we have on our agenda here is Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District South Main Street project, which I asked Kathy to put on the agenda because I attended the water and sewer meeting 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was I guess it was 3 weeks ago now, at which I discussed this with them. We've all talked about this to some extent, and we know that Water and Sewer is planning to put new water and sewer lines down Main Street, I think all the way from Highland to Warren, and maybe up Warren a little ways.
Yeah.
And of course, that's going to involve quite a bit of work on South Main Street. And the situation is such that some of the old drainage is still tied into the sewer pipes. And they feel that we are responsible for the expense of separating the drainage from the sewer pipes and causing the drainage to go where drainage is supposed to go, not into the sewer system. And I think you probably all recall that we asked them if they had any documentation about whether or when we took over that responsibility, and I don't think anything substantial has come to light. They've said to us that there was a time years ago when it became mandatory for us to manage the drainage, I think. But I don't think I'm not aware that it's really documented anywhere. I know that Mel provided us with a copy of a bid from some years ago that involved a separation of the water or the sewer from the drainage, and water and sewer, I think the highway department was sort of copied on it or included in it. I don't think there's any evidence that we paid any part of that. And so the reason...
It's also just one location.
It was one location, yeah. And of course, we don't really know how many locations there are or how much this separation is going to entail. We think we're going to have some more information when their engineers do some engineering work on, this project and what it's going to entail. They'll probably send cameras down and maybe see where the drainage is going and where it's improper. And then, in addition to maybe some of the, drains going into the sewer, I think there's also a question of private properties draining into the sewer system through either floor drains or roof, gutters, roof drains, and that sort of thing, which I believe would probably be the responsibility of the property owner to properly drain it.
Or back venting.
Or back venting. There's a safety issue with some of this too, I think. If you have an unvented drain in the basement that's connected to the sewer system, or there's no trap, or the trap dries out, and the sewer gases could back up. But I think those are probably more problems for the property owner than for us. So I think what we're concerned about is, do we feel that we have any responsibility for absorbing or incurring the expense that's involved in separating street drains from sewers?
And then it turned out that it seemed like the highway was involved in that first incident that you talked about.
Yep.
Because of the integrity of the road, not necessarily what was going on beneath.
And I didn't see any evidence that we paid for a part of it, just that we were included in
the meeting. Right.
In the meeting or the bidding or whatever. So, some of this is an issue of, whether, taking from Peter to pay Paul, sort of, but, and I can see, to some extent, it's going to be a taxpayer's responsibility, and to some extent, this is more maybe the responsibility of the taxpayers of Plymouth than it is the water and sewer people, which is not, the same set of people. But, I think we need to talk about whether we feel that we, how we should handle this issue with water and sewer, I guess is what we're getting to. How do we want to respond to the request that we participate, or how do we want to find out what's involved? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts were that, when we discussed it before, that, we wanted some paperwork that, said that we agreed we would be responsible, and in light of not having any, my personal thought is that, we're not liable. We offered to use a town engineer, and they, decided to go with their own engineer, which, I don't know what the dollar value was there, but I don't think without any written agreement that we would be responsible.
Yeah, the counter argument, I guess, is towns are responsible for drainage, but see, my view of it is, I would accept that we're responsible for drainage if the drainage was there for us to be responsible for, but it was built in such a way that it's going into their system, and so, I don't, we didn't put it there.
Right.
They did, I think, probably years ago, yes.
Probably, yeah,
I
probably.
believe the RSA's are the municipalities responsible. So the conflict that you were having was, we have two different municipalities.
Yeah, municipal entities.
It's not usual, but in our case it is. So which municipality does the RSA refer to?
Yeah, and I guess there's that too. It's not entirely clear. They're a municipal entity just like we are. They're a separate district, I guess, under whatever statute that is. Neil, did you?
Well, I think that it's, the burden should be on the water and sewer to show that we have entered into any commitment.
Do you basically agree with John on that?
Right.
Do you have any thoughts, Mike? And then, well, let me ask Mike and then.
I guess I would agree, and if there's a middle ground that if the highway department has to be there to monitor, to ensure the integrity of the road, in monitoring it, that we wouldn't send a bill to water and sewer for that cost of a town employee being there. As long as that would be acceptable to Joe, I think that would be a good middle ground for us.
And Joe, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, I mean, for the highway department, when they approached us to come on board, they were already in a forward motion with it. And so for us and our department, we've already planned our budget. And I can tell you that since they decided they were going to do that project, I went down through there and we lifted all the covers and had a peek down through there. And we literally found a failure on Warren Street. And there's a lot of old structures, so if we were to climb on board, the dollar signs could just get away from us in a hurry, and so the money, I don't know where the money would come from for that.
Help me out, because I don't understand this all very well, but when you say you saw a failure on Warren Street, what do you mean? Can you describe it in a little more detail?
Like see, the old sewer lines were turned into our drain lines. So what we found was I pulled the cover and we looked down there and it was a big sinkhole. So we just it was off the edge of the road, so we figured we'd wait a couple weeks and then just plan it and rebuild it. In the meantime, about a week later, that thing opened up and you could drop a car in there, the whole So, I mean, just...
So when you say the old sewer lines were turned into our drain lines, do you mean that they became street drains, or...
They were abandoned as sewer lines and became drains.
But they're still going into the sewer system?
All the old sewer lines used to run right down to the river. So when they built a new system, we took off over the old system, because now all that stormwater can still make it to the river.
So all the old sewer lines are not, what you call the old sewer lines, are not connected to the sewer system?
Nope.
But maybe failing?
That's when they did that separation.
All right, so I don't think those are the ones we're talking about, though, because those are already separated, and those are our issue, I would think, right?
Right, they're talking about the ones that are still connected
We're talking about,
and need to be separated in the
yeah,
future.
we're talking about drainage that is connected to the sewer lines.
Right.
Are you
I think
aware?
all Joe is trying to set an example for is if we're gonna say, yes, we did take over the drainage problems of this town X amount of years ago,
There might be issues like that.
that
Yeah.
have nothing to do with the project on Main Street. That we're not gonna just take on responsibility for Main Street, you're gonna be taking on responsibility for all drainage.
So are you aware, Joe, of old sewer well, I guess of drainage lines that are connected to the sewer system?
They were supposed to have done all that, but they didn't get them all.
Okay.
So we know there's some out there.
Do you know where they are yourself? No. So it'd take cameras or research or digging or something to.
And our town engineer says that we can only guesstimate
Right.
until the cameras are actually out there. We're guesstimating right now.
So
And we've
I'm
heard-
thinking that maybe we don't really know. Did you want to say something,
Can I ask
Steve?
a question?
Sure, I think you should.
When they put in the new sewer lines, that was a new system, right? So why would they hook up old sewer lines to the new sewer line? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, the
at all.
line that they're talking about was a 1910 infrastructure.
Right, I understand, but when they put the new one in, they'd have had to have purposefully hooked up the old one to the new one.
Right.
And that shouldn't be the town's responsibility, that was the water and sewer department. that
Which
did
is what
that.
we're saying, we don't know
Yeah.
why the town would take over that responsibility.
So, seems pretty cut and dry to me. Sorry.
And we've got estimates on our end that would be from $500,000 to $800,000,
But we don't really know if that's just a guess.
going by the prints that were provided to us. That might be accurate, but until the camera goes through, we don't.
So it sounds like the answer is pretty unanimous here, and we should probably tell them that, and then they will get some engineering information in the course of their work, and I'm sure they'll tell us what they find, and maybe we would reevaluate at that point. Does that make sense? Something like that?
So any other clarification that Joe and I would like to make is, because we've heard of meetings upon meetings that we were given notification to go forward, and Joe and I attended those meetings in the beginning. Those meetings just came to an end, like when the state pulled away from the table at the first meeting right inside this room. And that was one of those, we're gonna have to get back to you. We didn't realize that we had to remove the whole concrete slab on Main Street. So there weren't meetings that concluded with us having to go out and start seeing what we were gonna do within our budget. Here and there, we would say, if we were showed that we were responsible, we would hold up to our end of the responsibility. But then the board has taken on the stand of, show us where we're responsible.
Okay, I think we're good with that. Is everybody, we all set with that issue? Okay. And otherwise, I think we may have a non-public matter
Yes.
to continue with, but Frank, yes.
Just a public comment along this lines is, when this project gets going and you're gonna be taking up the concrete sections, you're gonna be down to one lane. And I was thinking if the highway department could prep the road that we got from the Alex Ray, that property now, that we can connect a bypass Main Street through that road. I don't know what's all involved with it, but try to get that.
Relieve the congestion some.
Relieve the congestion if we can just get a detour going down that way.
It's probably a good thing to start thinking about.
Yeah, to start
Make a
planning.
circle, is that what you're saying?
Well, we have we have the right to use that right away, but it doesn't belong to us. So does the town want to spend all our funds to build a road for them?
Right, we're still in a wait-and-see mode, Mr. Chair. Right, we're speculating now.
Yeah. Yeah, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Let's hope it's not a bridge.
Alex, were you here for?
I'm all set. Nope.
You're all set, okay. All right, then I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn the public meeting, the public portion of this meeting.
So moved.
By John,